Wubba lubba dub dub, fellow armchair Imagineers. Jacob Weil here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And tonight we are bringing you in the increasingly catalog of terrible episode titles of Rick and Morty, Season 6, Episode 10, Ricktional Mortpoon's Rickmas Mortcation.
Yeah.
It's like adding to the ever-growing catalog of either intentionally bad or unintentionally bad titles.
Not exactly the titles you want to say 5 times faster, or else your head's going to catch on fire. Am I right?
Pretty much. I honestly hope they're doing them on purpose.
Well, it's got to be on purpose. Why else would the writers put themselves through such anguish for, like, we need Rick and Morty puns. What about this episode? No, not that episode. Every other episode.
Like in every single episode, basically. Like,
yeah.
Going through the list of this season, the only one that Bethik Twinstink doesn't have Rick and Morty in the title. Night Family, that's really the only one that's not even.
Well, that's the main one I meant, Jacob. Let me this way. With Rick and Morty, so far we've either had, at least the majority of which, since they've made this shift, it's all been Rick and Morty titles and or either Smith family names like Beth or Jedi. The return of the Rick Turn of the Jedi, that whole thing.
And is it Night Family? That's one that's not even like really a parody of anything.
Yeah.
Final Dismithation. Direction. Analyze Piss technically didn't have a
exactly. So it's not a set thing, but it is when they do the Rick and Morty thing, they do go quite lengthy these times.
Yep. But again, heck, Analyze Piss is probably the best episode of the season so far.
Oddly enough.
Like, I'm not saying the titles have anything to do with the quality of the episode, obviously. Because obviously that's up to the eye of the beholder. Again, man, we should probably get to this episode instead of harping on the titles.
Yes, we should.
All right, so this is Rick and Morty's Christmas episode, or at least this season, anyway.
I think it's roughly the third Christmas one they've done, technically.
That's why I said this season.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I think it's like in total of the series. I could be wrong. I think the number's 3. Could be maybe more. I think it's 3.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I know in
Anatomy Park.
Yeah. Well, technically, I don't know if Anatomy Park did it actually take place on Christmas, or did it just have? Because I know it had the giant naked Santa Claus.
Yeah, it was Christmas. It was like Christmas Day.
Huh? Yeah, because I mainly the only thing I remember about that episode is the shrinking down, the hepatitis, and the giant naked Santa Claus floating over the United States.
Yes.
I mean, so I didn't remember it actually took place on Christmas Day.
Well, it'd be really weird if we had a giant naked Santa Claus on Arbor Day.
Well, I mean, it's Rick and Morty dragons.
Oh, true.
I mean, they've done stranger things than that.
Yes, anywho, so it's seemingly a great Christmas for them. How did you feel about the episode, Jacob?
Yeah. It was definitely better than last week's episode, I'll give it that. I mean, I think we all pretty much share the sentiment. Last week's episode was pretty boring.
Yeah, it's kind of the low point of the season.
Yep, followed episode 8 was a great episode. 9 was kind of a letdown and kind of boring. It definitely had its moments. I wouldn't say it's as good as episode 8, but I'd say it definitely has its moments for sure. I guess I probably wouldn't even rank it anywhere. Like, it's a middling episode, I guess. Not really boring, but it could have been better. What do you think, Dragon?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a solid finale, but it did feel a little, especially given the fact the presence, and it does feel like we somewhat went back to a familiar well with our season finales. Like, hey, we have Rick versus the president, but obviously we didn't go full tilt with, it's more like Morty versus the president. But I don't know. There's a little bit of I thought it was solid. I did feel, though, it was very much kind of a more setup-y end than I think we were expecting. I mean, I don't know. Overall, I mean, I thought it was rather enjoyable. I think the jokes were really were really funny. There's like one logic thing I had with it. It's not a detriment to the episode, but it just kind of occurs to me, like, really, we didn't. I don't know. But anyway, on the whole, though, I mean, again, it was very entertaining. I felt, but maybe I don't know if it's like the best finale they've had.
So, yeah, actually, yeah. Because I did enjoy the episode as well. Like some of the jokes did land. Some of them did feel kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird. But it was kind of weird to see the president getting all like that again. But and the ending is definitely an interesting payoff. But it just did kind of feel kind of weird. Like it's like it's like this feels like this could have been. They could have scrapped like the. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just didn't feel like the usual Rick and Morty finale material. Because even the first episode, even the first season finale had a bit more stakes than this one did.
True.
So, I mean, as you said, it kind of feels more like a setup to, as Rick points out in the end, season 7.
It's very aggressively setting up season 7. So yeah, that's very much where the season ends. Yeah.
I mean, and the setup is good. Don't get me wrong.
No, yeah, of course.
Like I said, enjoyable episode, just not up to par with other season finales. That
was a fun episode. Just the substance really was not there. It's really just like, hey, season 7 is gonna have like the substance. Like, okay, cool. And this is just kind of fun getting there, I guess.
Yep. I think they set it up in episode 1 of this season, and barely followed through any of the threads.
Yeah.
So, all right. Right, so it's Christmas Day in the Smith household.
That's a great Christmas for him, too, because we have a 22% more supportive Rick, who I really like 22% more supportive Rick, by the way.
Who, as we find out, since basically the beginning of the previous episode, has been a robot this whole time.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, I must admit, but it's like, he's delightful, though. I do like 22% more supportive Rick in like the beginning, where he's Venmoing Summer cash for Christmas. He got the Beth's like a picture of the happy childhood they were denied.
Like from a universe where they weren't horribly murdered.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, best gift of all. Jerry. Well, we should mention Jerry's gift. Yes,
yeah, the best gift of all. Jerry's 2-hour longer version of Miracle on 34th Street. Speaking of which, Jerry watched 2022 Dragon thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, obviously Jerry's kind of a moron for buying into the whole 2 more hours of this. This is my best Christmas wish ever. It's like come on, man. Really? 2 more hours of Miracle on 34th Street. What the heck are they going to mine from that? Essentially, then the whole and there's 1st Street and 2nd Street and 3rd Street and 32nd Street and the whole
And admittedly, that was funny though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's funny. It just feels like we really just that's all. That's all Jerry wanted.
He's easy to please. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh yeah, it was just really it's a really dumb way to please him.
And it's kind of fun, and it's kind of apropos considering our Christmas and our seasonal shenanigans this year.
I know, it is very apropos. So also the I really did like the moment though with Jerry, where he's given Rick at least 22% more supportive Rick, the Rick bot. He's giving him a little turkey carver, and
it was ham.
Oh, right. Sorry, ham. I don't know what it was. Anyway.
The ham looked really nice. Ham looked delicious, though.
I wonder if they don't do the turkey because Rick got turned into a turkey. I wonder if that's why.
I mean, that'd be pretty funny if that was it.
I mean, to be fair, that was more Thanksgiving. This is Christmas. I mean, people do have ham for Christmas, so I mean, maybe that's...
I mean, Thanksgiving usually is turkey, but Thanksgiving, I've always had more experience with ham on Christmas.
But that exactly. I'm saying in some households, turkey's like a 2 time a year sort of thing. But then again, ham is like the other go-to for it. Yes.
I mean, have you ever had honey baked ham?
Well, I'm not criticizing the ham, Jay.
I'm just saying, have you ever had? I'm just saying, one thing I always like to do on things whenever I have any of the ham. Actually, a lot of people have ham on Thanksgiving too. So both of them are kind of like 2 holiday meals. What I was doing was take King's Hawaiian rolls, butter them up, and put some honey baked ham on them, and create ham sliders.
Yep.
But you have to admit the ham actually did look pretty good.
Oh no, absolutely, the ham did look rather tantalizing. I must admit, yes.
And if Jerry made that, he's pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So and he actually and basically taking a book out of the Grinch, he let Rick carve it.
Exactly. So, but the point being the big Carver kind of moment of like, hey, I accept you as my father-in-law. Do it, man.
Which you have to admit is a nice moment for Jerry.
It's a nice moment, but obviously based on nothing but falsehoods because a 22% robot Rick.
It's like yeah, but ultimately you can't blame that one on Jerry because it's ultimately Rick.
Yeah, this one bothered me. That robot did not seem like he was made out of titanium.
Yeah, the titanium has. And what do you mean?
I'm just saying, like, Jerry was able to cut through that thing with just like a little carving knife. I mean, that's not titanium. You shouldn't be able to do that with titanium.
I'm gonna look up how strong titanium is.
I'm not expecting titanium to be like adamantium, but I'm just saying though, man, like titanium is like
but since it's strong as steel, and considering it's titanium is technically stronger than steel,
yeah.
and considering that knife, I mean, it's probably something Rick made, so they would probably be able to cut through them anyway.
I mean, I guess it's still. I mean, every utensil though. Like, I think Summer was like armed with like a fork when she was going at him. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway,
we can get back to that later.
point being, Robo Rick here then presents the best gift of all, the actual best gift of all.
Well, we technically don't know he's Robo Rick yet, but
yeah. Well, all right. 22% more supportive Rick
gives him a lightsaber.
Yes. So very much a Christmas story vibe here with the Red Ryder, 22 action carbine BB gun.
It's like, you'll cut your arm off.
But I want to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. What are you gonna do with one arm, Luke? No. So we have this moment where they go into the garage, and then of course, this is great. Oh yeah, I need some to fight. This about some card of fruit, a little fruit card action.
It reminds me of the game Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, and he's like basically throwing. It's almost like a game of catch. He's throwing like the watermelons and like grapefruits and.
I mean, have you heard of the game like the app Fruit Ninja?
No.
Well, it's like a mobile game app where you like move your finger around the screen and slice fruit. So it's basically that.
Pretty much.
Except with a lightsaber.
How is Disney not capitalized on that?
You mean cutting fruit with lightsabers?
Exactly.
I mean, that would be pretty cool, admittedly.
Yeah. All right, so then everything's great, but instead of like shooting his eye out, what does Morty do as the next worst thing?
He drops it vertical with the saber down.
Whoa, wait, Jake, that's crazy talk. For a second there, I thought you said he dropped it vertically.
He dropped it vertically.
Uh-oh. He dropped it vertically. Folks, dropping you don't drop a lightsaber vertically. Okay, now in all seriousness, to talk about the lightsaber drop.
As the president says later on in the episode, mother freaking vertical.
Yep. In all seriousness, the lightsaber drop of the episode. This is not the end of the world or anything, but it was very reminiscent and very inspired. I like to think from a. There's this Robot Chicken gag during the Robot Chicken Star Wars in which Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, remember the scene where like he and Qui-Gon are like cutting through that door?
Yeah.
Basically, Robot Chicken did a scene where Qui-Gon hands Obi-Wan the lightsaber and he drops it vertically. And so that's the thing. It keeps going down and down. It doesn't go to the Earth's core or anything, but I don't know. It feels very very indicative of that joke, taken to the nth degree, of course. So at least they had an original spin on it ultimately. But I don't know. It did feel one watching again, especially given the fact it's an Adult Swim show. It feels like, man, I think we kind of ripped off Robot Chicken. Then again, it's a whole episode based upon Star Wars, so I don't think it's really that big a deal.
Yep, and he tries to get. What Rick does that he tries to take it down and try and preemptively catch it before it gets to the core of the center of the Earth.
It does really bug me at a certain point, though. After the initial sequence of the lightsaber being dropped through the floor, and then, of course, trying to beat it, there's an urgency there, and yet when it drops, it just kind of lingers there for a few seconds and drops slowly, and no one goes to grab it.
Yeah.
That kind of drives me insane. Like, no, grab it, get it. No one's doing it. No one's even going for like a grab. I don't know. So that kind of that was a pet peeve, but no, it's how it's for comedy purposes.
And of course, we go to the biggest revelation of the episode. They live above a sushi place.
Yes. Well, what's the second biggest revelation of the season, Jacob?
The second biggest revelation is that 22% more supportive Rick is actually a robot.
A robot. Beep boop 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 beep boop boop beep bop.
And that's the reason why he didn't want Morty to go to level 10.
Exactly. Ultimately, if they were smart, they would have just waited down in the sushi place and grabbed it then. But
Morty pushed ahead.
That he did. So, yeah. So we revealed that Rick was really his feelings were not that he'd ever admitted his feelings were really hurt when Morty picked up that sword and didn't listen to him, and called him like effing drunk, like an old grumpy drunk.
I called him boring.
So that really hurt Rick's feelings, and because he basically said, okay, you know what, screw him, I'm gonna do my own thing. Of course, his own thing is I'm gonna get back to my season 1 plot line. Oh, sorry, my episode 1 plot line.
Yeah. So basically, last episode was like the entirety of it was just Rick being was not even the real Rick.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cool idea. I'll give you that. It's kind of, oh man, I was hoping Rick was going. It's a good bait and switch because you think episode 8 is like, hey, Rick's getting healthier through therapy, and he's become 22% more supportive Rick in response to this.
But nope.
Nope, undone. All that undone.
It's like, nope, it's not. He's not following through at all. Like he basically reverted straight back to what he was doing before.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Something mentioned with the lightsaber hurtling towards the Earth's core. There is kind of a thing on the rewatch that did occur to me. I think making it a literal lightsaber, just because Rick and Morty is usually very against that sort of thing. Like they would say, oh, it's like a lightsaber, instead of, no, it's a full-on lightsaber, which, I mean, I'm only knocking because you're saying we're talking about Star Wars in a fictional sense all throughout this episode, which is hysterical. And yet there's a real lightsaber and a kyber crystal that we name, that by name we give. If it lands in the Earth's core, it means the Earth gets destroyed. That's the leap I'm having trouble making on the rewatch. It feels like we've literalized something fictional, and I guess it would have to be like an alternate universe thing in which they've actualized this lightsaber. Right? That's the only logical explanation I can fathom, I guess.
Yeah, it is kind of a weird thing for this show to do.
And I'm not trying to like say, oh no, logically this would never work in science and such. It's just, it feels like, no, we're referencing to like a fictional thing versus like a practical thing. Rick and Morty usually goes out of their way not to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that they would specifically reference Star Wars, and I was like, oh, like Star Wars, like, yeah, but it's real this time.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to actually be a fictional thing in their universe. But it's also
two real conflicting things, which kind of boggles the mind when you really think about it.
I mean, it could just be like something where an alternate universe created something like a lightsaber, and Rick himself never actually explicitly calls it a kyber crystal, but he does call it a lightsaber, so it doesn't really do much to dissuade it. And
well, also we have another guy saying kyber crystal. Now, then again, that guy was not a scientist, but essentially, it's like, hey, there's a lightsaber with a crystal in it.
Yep.
And so the danger still exists there. That lightsaber goes down the Earth's core. The crystal inside will destroy it.
Yeah, it is kind of odd, but
also not really. I don't think that's how kyber crystals work, but let's go figure for drama, for stakes.
Yeah, for stakes it works. Like I said, plus in the fictional, plus in the other Star Wars wherever he got the lightsaber from, maybe that's how they work.
Sure. Now let me talk about the best part of the episode for me. I think the best aspect of the episode.
What?
Keith David ranting about Star Wars is hysterical.
You mean throughout the episode?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I love Keith David ranting about Star Wars. I just think it's really funny.
I mean, I love it. It's kind of like a parody of rabid Star Wars fans, or quote unquote fans, like almost how like they contradict themselves over almost everything.
Yeah. So I thought that was just, I don't know, I just love the idea of Keith David. It's almost the freakazoid rule. Like you have this esteemed town, they're saying ridiculous things. So you have like Keith David, the very refined and great actor Keith David. We've already done this with the president already, and Rick and Morty, and all the other situations we put him, but never something so deliberately, again, evocative of our real life here. It's like the president loves Star Wars for good and for good and bad. He loves Star Wars, and that. And then just him getting to this very, very like initially he's raking Morty over the coals for being a 14-year-old boy like Star Wars. And then later on, it's like,
I grew up with this movie. This movie raised me.
Yeah. Said having a bad father was cool.
No, that kind of does explain a lot about the president's behavior.
It does. Also, I think it somewhat calls to mind that Obama was a pop culture aficionado, which I forget if Obama was into Star Wars specifically or not, but it's kind of funny.
I don't know if he was specifically, but
it's kind of funny. They were kind of like,
and honestly, I don't think Obama had a bad father. I don't think.
Well, I have no idea. Regardless, though, it is kind of funny if you want to make the leap. I'm not saying they are making the leap, but it's.
I mean, his favorite cartoon was SpongeBob. So.
Yeah. What I mean is, you could look at it potentially as like we're blending certain administrations of the presidency. If what if you took again just kind of like kind of a pop culture themed and kind of like in general kind of a cool like a Keith David president would be akin to an Obama, where on the other side of things you have hey, we have a very petty guy who's who's ranting and raving and obviously very pro the destruction and stuff, and that's going to lean into some other administrations that will remain nameless.
Yeah.
Again, look, I'm not taking any sides. I'm just saying in general, it's like you have a few, the point being you have a kind of a blend of things going on there. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of funny considering that it's like one moment he's praising it was like Lucas ruined it. No, everything else ruined it.
Yeah, I just love the venue of this guy's really ranting about Star Wars yet being the highest authority on the planet.
It's like, yep, and then talking about I don't need 30 shows all filmed on a screen. It's like, well, those shows are better than a lot of stuff on television now.
There is a lot of fun call outs about Star Wars and how it's changed over the years, between the three eras of Star Wars. Now, the funniest Star Wars comment he had was a really pointed description of George Lucas. That bubble throat with a pompadour.
It is kind of a weird description.
Well, it's kind of accurate. Unfortunately, it's kind of accurate, though, because every time anyone does a caricature of George Lucas, they give him the bubble in the throat and they give him the pompadour hair.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so point being...
it's another one of the funniest aspects, well, at least one of the ones I thought very funny, was Rick's own vertical saber.
Okay, yeah, so basically after... so initially, real quick, some of the president, and then we'll get to the verticals saber.
Okay.
I love initially, and I was I was a little deflated that it was not as genuine, though, because I thought this would have been insanely funnier. I love the initial sympathy that the president gets after making the 14-year-old boy cry on Christmas in his overwhelmed situation with Rick and everything, and the fact that I dropped my lightsaber. Oh, it's okay, Morty. We'll get your lightsaber back. He's like, oh man, that was so nice.
And and then he takes it for himself.
Yep, he basically becomes an evil Star Wars fan, essentially.
Yeah, it's probably what a lot of fans would do if they got a real lightsaber.
Now here's the honest kind of logic hole in the whole episode. This one actually is kind of a problem. The president wants a lightsaber, despite later on he has a whole bunch of lightsabers at his disposal.
Yeah, he has maybe he just wanted one to hold for himself, because technically all those others were kind of built into robots or a Gatling gun for some reason.
Well, yeah, I'm saying with the Gatling gun, though, it's what if you just fired one of the rounds and just pulled it out of whatever it was fired into, and you have it.
It does kind of bring into question where these people got their lightsabers.
That's my point. That's kind of your logical. Wait, I thought the lightsabers were really hard to come by, and yet a bunch of lightsabers.
If 22% nicer Rick was able to get it, then who knows? Maybe other presidents either got them from Rick, or maybe they have their own technology for it.
I mean, to be fair, they did say like the only reason Rick had to go so far to get one was that he didn't want to have to pay shipping, and well, the president burns through money. So I guess that's not. I don't know. It just feels like, wait a minute. If the lights, why is he so obsessed with? I'm going to get this lightsaber and it's mine. I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a hole per se because it's not really important to the story.
I don't know. He really like him holding that lightsaber and screwing everything up is kind of important.
Yeah, I mean it is.
And then we reveal like, hey, no, he's got a whole bunch of lightsabers, and this has not happened before somehow.
Like he holds it, he plays with it, and he drops it vertically.
Yeah.
Like mother freaking vertical.
Yeah.
Maybe if those lightsabers weren't so top heavy.
Maybe. So anyway, yes. So Rick, he gets involved. He's like, I'm going to destroy that lightsaber, and how's he going to destroy it?
First of all, the real Rick, we should say, not 22% nicer Rick.
Yeah, the real Rick. The real Rick gets ticked off, and he's getting into a little argument with Morty over everything, and he basically he's like, okay, I'll take care of this, fine. So he brings out the AI lightsaber with attitude.
And the AI basically just continues being like it's like you built me to go vertical, not respond every 5 seconds.
Admittedly, Rick was absolutely in the right, just keeping this guy on track, just seeing how how just how unfocused this thing got. Or honestly, it's the fact that on a dime, it's like, no, I'm not going to listen to you. And then of course, he's like,
you're an A. I built you. Do what you're told. And he's like, okay, I'm going to deactivate myself. Then you can do it. And you can do it. And then it just goes immediately off course, just as it's about to contact the other lightsaber.
Yeah.
And then it exits through Italy, and then funnily enough, it just exits out, through one of the canoes, and everything's fine, right?
Sure. Yeah. Nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing. Not it. Like, let's see what things that didn't happen. We didn't see it go back and cut the people in half. We didn't see it decapitate anybody. We didn't see any of that, did we?
No, we didn't see anything.
It's like, of course, if they did do it, then it definitely wasn't the U.S. Then Rick that did it.
Yeah, it was certainly the Saudis. The Saudis did it. I'm sure.
Yeah, they definitely did it. Because that's what the president said, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. We don't have like a vertical AI lightsaber hovering in the room here.
No, obviously not.
No, heck no.
And we never see the same, and we never see it again.
No.
But for all we know, it's still out there, potentially not decapitating people.
No, not at all. None of that's happening.
Maybe that'll pop up in season 7.
And he'd be welcome to.
Yep. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
So obviously the Vertisaber doesn't go well for Rick.
Yep, and he goes a little blow up with Morty, and then he basically says, "Anyone you let in is gonna trust you and kill anyone you trust for a moment, like he did the Rickmas. Rick is gonna end up killing your family." Essentially, is Rick's trauma, and he kind of leaves that on the doorstep there, and he kind of leaves, and then we have this gag with the president.
He's like, "I will never kill your family."
I'm not gonna kill you.
And I'm gonna kill your family. But technically, he doesn't.
He doesn't, but still, he does. Rick was right in that the president would betray him, which he absolutely did.
I mean, technically, he never said that he would betray him. He just said he'd never kill his family.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Technically, he's not. He may be a betrayer. He may be someone who's a betrayer and someone tried to kill with a lightsaber, but he's not a liar.
True.
I mean, I'm not saying it's better or worse, but technically, he's not a liar.
I mean, then again, he did. Technically, he dropped the lightsaber, which is going to kill everyone, including Morty's family. So,
okay, he didn't lie to Morty. He did lie to everyone else, though.
He lied to the nation, saying, "I'm not in space." Of course, well,
I was like, "Well, I'm busted."
Yeah,
and he has
I love that the White House chef was out getting groceries.
I was like, "You don't know how to cook? You know how to cook an egg?"
Yes, you do. Everyone does.
It's like, oh my god.
There's a lot of good president gags in this.
The president's probably the best character in this episode.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
I mean, that's probably helped by Keith David.
Anyway, so speaking of which...
And I do love the fact that he has the nerve to, after everything is solved and everyone's back, it's like dude, would it be bad to ask for another book to build another White House? He asked Rick to build a White House. It's like, well, maybe you shouldn't have launched yours into space.
Maybe.
Hey, who knows? Maybe Rick did that one too. Maybe I'm gonna guess Rick probably built the propulsion system on that one.
That makes sense.
I mean, who else would do it?
The Saudis?
I mean, I don't think they'd help. I don't think they'd help with the White House, honestly.
Well, maybe if they built it inferiorly.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. So we have the
drill.
yes,
The drill ship, which of course Jerry likes.
Yeah. Now we did have the drill ship earlier, but we used that, and he and the president, Morty and the president, got the lightsaber, and then of course we know how that went. Basically, president takes it from Morty and gets into his whole rant about how he deserved. He owns Star Wars.
Yeah, and then he owns it. I was like, I grew up with it. Like, it raised me. It raised me.
Yep.
U.S. roll out. Which of course
very Imperial March-esque.
And of course also referencing Transformers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
anyway. So our climax on the moon. So the president is basically they're camped at.
Well, it's not really on the moon. It's just more in space.
Oh yeah, you're right. I don't know, because here's the thing. I saw Robo Rick kind of. It looked like he was like on a moon's surface, but you're right. He was just kind of hovering in space. So yeah, they're hovering in space. It seems like Robo Rick saved the day by grabbing the lightsaber. Also, speaking of which, Robo Rick, there's this running gag throughout the episode in which he's feeling very guilty over having feelings and everything with the family, and he's actually helped the family a great deal, and they're all.
But he's not allowed to say he's a robot.
Yep, and then of course,
which everyone should have probably picked up upon when he said, like, "What did you get? What are your bones made of? Titanium?" Which a robot would say, which I wouldn't say because I'm not a robot.
Yes, the whole like not a robot game.
Which at that point everybody should realize, yep, he's a robot.
I think they were really harsh and that they were so fast to kill the robot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when the scene was like when they guessed the titanium skeleton, I was like, at that. Well, then again, considering what Rick can usually do, it probably wouldn't be too surprising for normal Rick's body to be titanium. I mean, so it's actually not out of ordinary for actual Rick to probably have that, but yeah, it was kind of weird. It's like, yeah, when Jerry cut through the robo arm, he's like, finally, and then they all of them basically except Jerry just. Space Beth and Summer immediately jumped over him and destroyed him.
Yeah,
without any hesitation. It's like, I'm like, well, that was quick. I mean, seriously. I mean, it was kind of quick. I mean, they just learned he was a robot and they just suddenly tear him to pieces. Do you understand what, dude? Would you understand that, Dragon, or did you just think they were just trying to get it out of the way?
Yeah, it feels like it was just kind of like this is like a normal Tuesday. Like, no, we got to kill the robot. I don't approve of it because I think that robot really improved all their lives. But
Yeah, and then they just suddenly kill it.
Yep, and then they used his head to decorate the tree.
Yeah, but then once the president drops the saber, they bring it back. It's like, oh, can't you just let me die?
Yep, not drops the ball. He drops the saber.
Yep, drops the saber vertically, of course.
Of course.
They just didn't make sure they stop dropping it vertically. At least drop it horizontally next time.
Yep.
So of course they bring Rick in, and of course at that point, obviously Robot Rick feels a lot of pain and just wants to die.
Kind of a Rick quality in general.
Yeah, that is kind of something that's
the level of a dub effect, one could say.
Yep. Like, I am in extreme pain.
Yeah.
But he still goes through with it and gets the lightsaber from the ground somehow.
All right, so we have Morty facing off against the President's forces in space, in which his forces are his immense Star Wars collection of battle droids.
Which then again leaves you to wonder if they could have just retrieved the saber that way. Why didn't they do that in the first place?
Yeah.
I mean, why go through the Vertisaber or anything? Just send the robot. I mean, they could have easily done. He could have easily just done that instead of everything else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to call it a plot hole or
Well, I don't.
anything.
Look, I don't. Well, I'm not going to say plot. I'm saying like I don't think the robots could have gotten down there as fast to get the saber. So I don't. That's probably why.
Well, probably, and the hole was a bit thinner at that point, so
Oh yeah, that too.
he had more room to work with.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of them. But anyway, moving on. The
Yeah, Morty fighting battle droids. Very kind of very. Honestly, it's a very prequel-esque kind of battle they have in the finale.
Yeah, while they like diss like all the Star Wars stuff or like praise it, make fun of it, or do whatever. He's like, Disney ruined Star Wars. I don't need all this shows. It's like he's basically making fun of the purists.
Pretty much.
Who's like, I don't need shows. These shows filmed in front of a green screen. They all film it in that green tube, which in reality is actually more impressive that he's making it sound.
Well, yeah, and of course, what he's leaving out is the fact that it's the volume, which basically is like is the best green screen ever that George Lucas would have gone nuts. He would have sold all of his kids for.
I mean, probably.
I'm joking, but yes, yeah,
I know that. Yeah, I know. But it's way more impressive than how he described it, and I said. Like shows like The Mandalorian and stuff like that are like some of the best Star Wars has ever been.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
So I guess I mean it's up to opinion, of course, but obviously he's not one of those people, and obviously considering what he's done, all the battle droids. Technically, I mean he admits that the whole thing's not his, but considering how he's doing at this point, it's kind of hard to take what he says seriously.
Yeah.
So it's like, they usually come out on the Force shake. There we go. And considering it was basically his idea to have a robot that has lightsabers for eyes.
Very, very ill designed, by the way.
Yeah, it cuts off its own arms. It's like, oh god, it can't see. It's like, you didn't foresee that.
No, we didn't.
It's like you could have at least tried to make a real life General Grievous or something.
Yeah.
Or at least, give it like 4 lightsabers instead of 2 lightsabers for eyes. Which is, I mean, admittedly, it's hilarious, of course.
Oh, of course. It's highly impractical yet hilarious.
It's like, yeah, but it's totally something he would do. Somehow it seems totally in character for the president to do at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I forget the president's actual name.
I don't think he has a name. I think he's just the president.
I think it's like Curtis or something. I guess. I don't know if that's his first or last name, but
he had a name that was very much in the background, like it was like it's there, but no one ever calls him that way.
I want to think it's Curtis, but I don't entirely remember.
I don't know. I think Curtis sounds right, Jacob. I just don't.
And like I said, even if that's correct, I don't know if that'd be considered his first name or his last name.
Right.
But either way, it's like it seems like something he would do and like build lightsabers. Like, you were at least intimidated by it, right?
Nope.
Especially after it, cut off its own arms.
So then we have the Gatling gun, the lightsaber Gatling gun,
which is also hilariously impractical.
I gotta admit, I thought the thing was gonna be a lot more impressive when it fired, but
And the lightsabers were kind of tiny too.
That's what I'm saying. It felt like remember at the circus, back in the day, you had like the little kind of knockoff lightsaber things you'd extend out of the little collapsible tube thing. It feels like just one of those if it didn't extend.
Again, in all honesty, though, a Gatling gun laser would be cool in Star Wars.
You mean laser or lightsaber?
No. What I'm saying is like a Gatling gun laser, like a.
Oh, you're right. That would be cool.
Like a Gatling gun blaster, I should say.
I mean, we kind of saw that only somewhat, in the first episode of Mando.
Hey, kinda, yeah. But...
yeah, Murray uses that to blast through the door with IG-11, or is it IG? I forget which IG were you working with.
IG-11.
Yeah, it is 11. Okay, and it's IG-88's the one that's in Empire.
Yeah, he's the bounty hunter.
That's what I thought.
Well, technically, I guess they're both bounty hunters.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, they are both bounty hunters. Yes.
So I guess that doesn't really make much of a distinction.
Well, they're bounty droids.
Yes, but IG-11 is the one from Mando.
Correct.
It's like the one who was like, "I shall initiate self-destruct."
Like, no, don't initiate self-destruct.
It's like, basically, it's like any minor inconvenience, I shall initiate self-destruct.
God, I love Mando so much.
Yeah, me too. Anyway,
Point being, I was honestly with the lightsaber gallery. I was expecting to like reload and just shoot a
And
bazillion lightsabers,
and
like
and
just
and in all honesty, though, speaking of like weird lightsaber stuff, like actual, I don't think it's canon anymore, but like in the extended universe, there was actually Viking lightsabers, kind of, and it was a lightsaber axe.
huh.
Like, look it up seriously. It was like I don't think it was like fan art or anything. I think it was like legitimately like part of like a comic or something. There was actually a lightsaber axe. Hold on, I'm actually gonna check it. But you go on with it, what you were talking about.
Sounds like a dumb idea, the lightsaber axe. I gotta be honest.
Lightsaber axe.
I mean, actually, no. Actually, thinking about it, the only way that thing would work is like if you have a lightsaber, but it's an axe, but at the right behind the axe is the lightsaber. I mean, it's still kind of
No, I
impractical.
mean,
But
no. I mean, it's like from what I've seen, like from what I've seen, it's like it looks like a staff, and then like two parts of it connect like a crescent, but so it makes it look like an axe.
eh,
I guess I don't think it's like a huge part of, but it does have an entry on Wikipedia. So
anyway. So, point being, as we think the president's about to get killed by Morty, justifiably so. Let's be honest.
yeah, and then Robo Rick jumps in front of him
Yep.
and sacrifices himself to the Gatling saber gun.
Oh no, he's not sacrificing anything. He just wants to die.
I was like, oh yeah. Speaking of which, earlier, like when they're rolling under the slow moving door, it's like, oh no, I can't get under. What a tragedy!
The robot with a death wish. So anyway, the real Rick saves their bacon with a portal gun when
Oh,
they're
well,
drifting through space.
you know why he has to save them in the first place, Dragon.
Vertical lightsaber.
Vertical lightsaber, yet again. It's like and it breaks through the floor. It's like freaking vertical.
Yep, as all the little mini lightsabers, like drop through the floor vertically, and they're doomed. It burns through the bottom of the White House, and they're about to drift out through space. And the real
Well,
Rick saves them with a portal.
as it creates a vacuum that's about to suck them into space, and somehow because being Rick, he's able to save them.
Yeah,
I mean, do we really? We don't really need an explanation as to how, other than the fact that he's Rick.
yeah.
So, and
He can
so
find everything but the Rickus Rick. That's the only thing he can't do.
basically, so he saves. So the president saves. I mean, so not me. So he saves Morty and the president and Robo Rick. Robo Rick. The president goes. I was like, "Can you guys call me an Uber? Can you build the right house? Build the White House?" It's like, all right, Merry Christmas, guys.
God.
It's like you're the president of the United States. You can probably just call somebody on your phone to bring you a limo.
Yep.
It's like all right, bye guys. It's like I know it's funny, so we can't really complain too much. And it's Keith David saving these things, as you said, like getting like these incredible actors to say these most ridiculous things, which adds to the humor of it. So
Yeah.
and of course, tearjerker moment. Robo Rick finally dies.
Yep, and this gives, I think, the real Rick a little perspective, and he invites Morty to join him if he so chooses, which Morty does, which is a big mistake because now Morty is now encumbered with Rick on his darkest season ever. He's the season of darkness, season 7. Help hunting my nemesis.
It's like this is my darkness, Morty. It's like, but it did, but no, and as it's revealed throughout the episode, it's like they're analyzing his butt, basically.
Yes, the recording of the Rickus Rick doing his little naked ploy to Rick and show him.
Or as
Yeah.
Rick calls him, Rick Prime.
Rick. Well, I thought didn't they call him the Rickus Rick? Isn't that the thing?
Well, he is called the Rickus Rick, but he's also apparently referred to as Rick Prime.
All right, Rick Prime. Point being,
I mean, the Rickus Rick sounds good too, so we can go through the one.
All right. Point being, Rickus Rick captured in Flungrata. He's basically he left a recording, and in doing so, Rick's been matching that against all the butts of all the Ricks and all the multiverse.
Which is a sentence you would never expect to say, but almost feels like it also feels natural in a show like this.
Pretty much. It's funny that does remind me a little bit of a Rocco's Modern Life episode.
Like, you have to explain that.
In Rocco's Modern Life, there is an episode where I forget where they go. I forget if it's I think it's Grauman's. I think they go like the Hollywood essentially. Like in Grauman's, they do like the footprint ceremony.
Oh yeah, Grauman's Chinese theater.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe, assuming it was like it was a parody of Grauman's, Rocco ends up with his butt in the cement, and this draws the eye of like a fashion designer, and basically do like a nationwide search, like Cinderella looking for the foot that fits into the glass slipper of basically of Rocco's butt. And so that's like so everyone and their mother is trying to fill the fill the thing, and Rocco becomes a model once they do that.
Becomes a butt model.
I
or,
don't know,
just a regular model.
I mean, assuming I'm not blending two episodes together, I'm pretty sure that was like Act 1 was like find the butt, and then Act 2 was like he became a model.
And now I need to find that episode of Rocco.
God.
I've seen a few episodes, and now I need to find that one. the butt model Rocco.
God.
Anyway, so it's like are those the places he could be? Like, no, Morty, that's where he is. Like, he's all over the place.
Yeah. So the point being, this guy's locations are all across the universe. There's no necessarily nailing him down to one location, at least not easily. So it's up to Rick and Morty hunting his nemesis.
It's like, you can't back out of it now, Morty. You volunteered for this.
Yep, and that
basically back to season 1 coercion almost.
Pretty much, and that brings us to the post-credit scene, which is muy importante because it brings back, like we traditionally do at the end of all seasons of Rick and Morty.
Except for that one time in like last season where he came back in like the heist episode.
True.
Mr. Poopybutthole.
Yeah.
Which is all his last name, by the way.
Yes. So, Mr. Poopybutthole, he's reeling from his divorce, and in the interim, he got jacked. That's one jacked Poopybutthole, my friend.
Yeah, you could say he's a swole Poopybutthole.
Well, it's saying that out of context, I don't know. But
so does jacked.
No, you're right. I'm just saying the swole is a little.
At least mine rhymes.
Oh yeah, you're right. It does rhyme.
And swole is another word for strong, so
yeah, it's also like a letter or two away from swollen, which is more of another condition.
I'm well aware of that fact, Dragon.
Anyway, so the swole butthole.
so it's like he got his personal trainer,
Carl.
Yes.
So apparently, Carl has moved on from Phineas and Ferb, and he's going on to other pursuits in life.
Oh God!
So Carl lifts, tells him to lift, essentially deadlift. I think it's deadlift tonight. He tells him to lift 300 pounds.
So it's like, and that's the best, because that's the best way to move on from a breakup is to become jacked.
Become jacked, and then kind of get up from under a relationship to get from under. The best way to get from under a lady is under a 300-pound squat.
Yep, and then how does it turn out?
Oh, it ends horribly wrong. Where he basically does this squat, and basically like he's potentially paralyzed. Like he crunches down on his vertebrae, and he's in traction, and it's like, oh sugar, like this. Oh wait.
Carl's not a very good spotter.
No, Carl sucks at spotting, man.
He may be a good trainer, but he's not a good spotter.
Not in the slightest. And of course, poor Poopybutthole. I need Amy. Needs his wife.
And it's like, call her on your phone, not mine, because she blocked me.
It's some Dan Harmon writing, if I've ever heard it.
It's like call her not on my phone because she blocked me. La, la, la.
Yeah. Ooh-wee. In this case, he went from ooh-wee to ow-wee.
Basically, yeah.
It's gonna be more physical therapy for this guy. Ever since his gunshot, he's just Mr. Butthole is just never. He's never gonna be right. Let's be honest.
He's always in pain, either physically or emotionally.
That is true. Yes.
Like sometimes both, as in the case here.
Yeah.
and we laugh at him nonetheless.
His soul and his spine is in utter agony.
And we laugh at him nonetheless.
Yeah, look at that Twinkie writhe in pain. Ha ha ha.
It's like, yep. We feel bad for him, but we can't help but laugh.
Because his name is Mr. Poopybutthole.
Exactly, and he kind of brings it on himself.
Yep. Laugh at that poopy butthole.
Who knows? Maybe next season we'll see the continuation and once again see Mrs. Poopy Butthole.
Possibly.
I was like, even while I was watching the ended credits, I was gonna be like, are we gonna see Mr. Poopy Butthole again?
I wonder what her maiden name is.
I don't know. I don't want to find out.
It's a good point.
It's like, who knows? I mean, maybe it's something completely innocent.
Maybe.
But maybe we'll find out next season, or maybe we won't find out at all.
Yep.
Well, we obviously know her name's Amy, but what is Mr. Poopy Butthole's first name?
Now that's a better question.
Because obviously we know his last name, but unless Mr. is his first name.
Could be Chad.
Chad Poopy Butthole.
Yeah.
Let's headcanon that until they confirm it, I guess.
Or it could be Myron.
Myron Poopy Butthole. That works too. Let's headcanonize that until they officially canonize it.
All right. Anyway, so that's the end.
So that's the end of season 6.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do a quick recap and retrospective of the season? Like, it'll only take like a couple minutes or so.
All right. Well, you list out the episodes.
All right. Episode 1, Solarix.
It's a solid opener.
Yeah, which basically reintroduced Rick Prime, or the Rickest Rick, back into foray, and of course, probably either like one of the top three episodes of the season, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Because of course we got when we visited Cronenberg world.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see probably the Jerryest Jerry.
Yeah, the only good Jerry.
The only Jerry you like, anyway.
Yeah, I think the only Jerry anybody really likes.
I mean, a lot of people actually like Jerry, believe it or not. On one of our videos, I actually saw a comment saying, one of the related videos saying, Jerry being my favorite Rick and Morty character for 14 minutes.
Yeah, for 14 minutes.
Anyway, so like I said, I don't know if he'd be considered the Jerryest Jerry, but definitely the most badass Jerry.
Yeah.
So a solid opener. Like I said, probably one of my top three episodes of the season. A strong start. Then Rick, a Mort well lived.
It's a good callback of the video game, but our Die Hard thing was not as exciting as it was sold to us to be.
No, it's like Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard, Die Hard.
Yeah, it lost its luster on that side of it.
I mean, it was fun. That would have been funny if it was toned down a bit.
Yeah.
But obviously, the video game simulation, very well done. After that, Bethic Twinstinct.
Yeah, this was a highlight. It was an unconventional highlight, but I think it was a highlight of the season.
Definitely showed Jerry's more commanding side in a different way.
Yeah.
And of course, more fetishistic side, I guess.
That sounds a little more right.
But yes, again, it still has my personal favorite description that I wrote for the season so far.
Yeah.
In which I was like, it takes you do you to its literal logical extreme. I'm still proud of that one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if anyone else is, I am. But still, definitely a highlight, as you pointed out. Knife Family.
This was good. This was, feels very much like a classic Rick and Morty adventure.
And yet, of course, it ties in. It was basically their Halloween episode.
Yeah.
So again, it was a very fun episode. I'll admit that one too. It's Spinal Dismethation. This is kind of where the season started to wind down a bit. In Final Dismethation.
Yeah.
The fortune cookie episode, had some funny moments, and of course, the whole fortune cookie controlling the world was a very creative concept, of course. But
Yeah, that's the fortune cookie thing was really clever, but the stakes of Jerry and his mother was a really oddball kind of choice. But oddly, though, again, the stakes I do love how he ratcheted up the tension there of the choice that Rick makes. Though I do love like this as absurd and gross a situation as it is. Though I love the editing on that climax so much.
And plus, it's like one of the few like Rick and Jerry adventures we get.
That's the thing. So that one surprisingly was a good episode.
Yep. I mean, but it is a sign that they're kind of winding down a bit.
A little bit.
It's like Jurassic Mort, again, creative concept. Not so much on the execution, but still.
Yep.
I remember more of the concept in the actual episode.
I mean, I think the funniest thing in that episode is when they basically fix like the portal crisis.
Yep, and basically it's a big middle finger to Rick.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yep. Speaking of which, you didn't see evil Morty again this season.
I like to think that's the reason why.
Probably. And of course, after brief hiatus, we returned with Full Meta Jack Rick, which was like basically the metaverse story.
I really like this one.
It was
This one this may or may not be my favorite of the season, if I'm being frank. I really like this one.
Yeah, it was a lot. This one was a lot of fun. I mean, I need to really I might need to rewatch some of this stuff, but it was definitely one of the more memorable. I'll give it that. I mean, I did like the creativity of the storytellers and how like everything is all basically all that. So I'm gonna move on. Analyze piss was next.
Probably the other standout of the season. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it was, I think, possibly one of the best episodes this season.
I mean, it was surprisingly the most dramatic episode of this season, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, this episode definitely had its moments, but those moments were more played for like brief tension rather than straight up drama.
Yeah.
I mean, considering it was like an episode focusing on a guy named Pissmaster.
Yeah.
And Jerry becoming basically Green Lantern Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially. I mean, that's essentially.
Well, no, essentially, yeah. No, you're right, but yeah.
So, and of course, I mean, this is more of a Rick versus Jerry episode, but. Yeah. But like I said, that's another episode that does have its merits, surprisingly enough. And of course, last episode was a Rick and Key Mortar's Mort.
Yeah, this one was the low point.
Yeah, it was the worst, the low point of the season.
Yeah, and then we dismounted on the last one this one
and
National.
Arguably the titles are still getting worse.
Yeah.
And of course, we end on this episode, Ricktional Mortpoon's Rickmas Mortcation, even though this episode has more to do with Star Wars than National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. Oddly, it starts off like Christmas Story. This has really nothing to do with. There's one reference to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation in this episode, just one.
All right, and explain it.
They call Rick was kind of the obsessed Rick when he's in like the coat and his underpants and with the 5 o'clock shadow. They say he's like something mixed with Randy Quaid. Now, that's basically a reference to him playing Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like definitely a solid season. I mean, do you think it's a step up above last season, or do you think it's a step down from last season?
I'd have to reevaluate season 5 to know for sure, but honestly, I think it had more hits than misses. If I'm really looking over it personally, so probably yeah.
And considering last season's the episode with the Rick Dependent spray, yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Based on that, I'm probably going to have to say on authority, like yeah, the kind of de facto it has to be better than that season.
Based on that one episode alone.
Yeah.
I said because none of these episodes were like offensively terrible or anything, and they were all memorable in their own right, except for like, and heck, even considering this episode, even last episode becomes memorable retroactively, I guess. I mean, if you watch it, you now understand the context. It kind of becomes a rewatch bonus almost.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, who knows when the next season will pop up? It might be next year. It might be in 2023. Might be in 2024. Who knows?
Who knows, indeed.
But until then, we will. When that point comes, of course, we will be there to bring you up to date on Rick and Morty and their crazy adventures in season 7 and the hunt for Rick's nemesis.
Hunting his nemesis.
Hunting his nemesis. You gotta do it, Morty. There's no backing out now. All right. Wubba lubba dub dub. Until next time.
Nimbus controls the police.
We didn't get Mr. Nimbus enough, but oh well. Maybe we'll see him again next season.
Yep.
Ooh-wee!
Ow.